All right, fellas, what up, man? Listen, I was driving down the road last night. I apologize for how I sound a little bit. My throat is sore. It's that time of the year. You know how this works. But I was driving down the road last night, and I was looking for TFN's video where he was talking about the Asian capitalist, how like he was going over their traditionalism mentality and the radical traditionalism, all that stuff that he did probably a few months ago, whatever the case might have been. And while I was looking for it, I came across this video that this dude did where I don't understand why these guys keep doing this. He was trying to stand here and argue about TFM's economic views. And I saw it and I'm like, well, you know what, man? Let's be real here. This is shit that we cover on my channel on a regular basis. And I feel as though we need to continue to cover these things on my channel because people don't understand how it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand here. I'm going to take this. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give you evidence as to why this dude has no idea what he's talking about. But on top of that, we're going to use it as a learning experience so we can all be more educated and better understand where we are in the world today. Welcome to motherfucking Pnoid News.
No, I'd like you to know that I am glad to pay my taxes. And I'll tell you why I'm glad to pay my taxes. There have been times when I found myself unemployed for one reason or other, where the job was either seasonal or, you know, the business actually I was working for folded, you know, nothing. And so I've gone through times of drought. And because you guys paid your taxes, there were safety nets for me to allow me to get back on my feet and get to the work, you know, again. And so now that I'm working right now, I am glad to pay my taxes, knowing that I'm providing a safety net for you guys in case you guys find yourself unemployed.
All right. First off, what this dude's standing here talking about is unemployment insurance that we have here in America. Look. Number one, this should be handled as a private matter, all right? This should be something that you pay out of your paycheck, but we decided that we wanted to use the government socially to be able to do it. Either way it goes, all right? I personally think that this should be something that you should be saving up for in an account, or it should be provided by your employer. You know what I mean? It should just be like a basic, like almost like an insurance policy that you have. In case you lose your job, you're able to go and get your money. I understand why we do it through the state because companies are grimy. But, you know what I mean? That isn't a reason to pay your taxes. That's not what taxes go to pay for in any way, shape, or form.
I am expressing my gratitude. I am grateful for living in the first world country that I am. And that's Canada.
I keep trying to tell y'all motherfuckers, all right, legitimately, people that don't live inside of America are fucking communist, all right? Like, legitimately, like, this is, I've been trying to explain this to y'all. Like, if you're on the East Coast and you're a conservative, you're a right-wing individual, all right? Legitimately, if you live on the West Coast and you're a right-wing individual, you look like a communist to the people on the East Coast. All right. And outside of America, if you're a conservative and you're right wing, legitimately, you know what I'm saying? You're a fucking communist. You're basically Stalin compared to us. And this is why I say these things.
You know, now, my father, for example, did make it to retirement time. I should say, I'm also thanking you guys who put in, you the older generation, who looked after us, the younger generation. You know, you put your taxes in, and your taxes allowed the infrastructure of a first world country. So even when my parents looked after me, they looked after me and my brothers and sisters under a very good environment supplied by that. That's the advantage of having a collective population work together and supply safety nets for one another in infrastructure.
Now, look here. You will not hear me argue against roads, bridges, firefighters, and ambulances. All right, like that's dumb. I absolutely believe that these are a necessity in a first world country. These are a necessity in any country when it really comes down to it. Even like Muslim countries have firefighters and ambulances and things of this nature to help protect each other, and roads and bridges and shit, and be able to move stuff around. Now, that's fine, but that has absolutely nothing to do with social safety nets.
So, my father, he didn't make it to his retirement, so he spent, decades in the workforce looking after the 9 of us under the same roof. Very stressful at times. And he was still a very good, very cheerful person who donated his time to the Little League field and the YMCA. You're just an overall good person. And I'd like you to know that even though he didn't make it to his retirement age, I can feel good about the idea that you, those of you who are retired, are benefiting from my taxes. At least you made it, and I can pretend or have the fantasy that in the summertime, you guys have a cottage by the beach, and you're taking naps in a hammock on a warm summer day.
Yes, this dude is proud of his enslavement. He's enjoying the fact and fantasizing about the money that he gives into his government being spent by somebody taking naps in a fucking hammock. Jesus fucking Christ. Look, all right. This guy 3 times told us that his father didn't make it to the retirement. All right, he worked himself into an early grave, as most of us do. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's the better way to go when it really comes down to it. I'd trade, eating steak and living my life and enjoying myself today for having to shit myself in fucking diapers and, end up having to have my ass wiped by somebody when I have no idea who anyone is around me and don't recognize my fucking children. I don't want those last years of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking let me start a shotgun and, I think it'd be better off in that manner, to be perfectly honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, like, scared of life, not nihilistic. It's just like, that seems like a shitty way to go when it really comes down to it. You know what I mean? But yeah, this solipsistic fucking mentality of defending your own fucking enslavement is goddamn fucking awful. And it makes absolutely no motherfucking sense to me whatsoever.
But, the reality is a lot of you guys who are retired, we both know you're just getting by, and life is very minimal for you, at least some of you. And you do what you can to make your life fulfilling. It would be surprising that if you knew that there were people out there who would like to get rid of pensions and let you guys starve in the street. I know, it sounds like a boogeyman. My father would be appalled at such an idea.
My father would be appalled. Flabbergasted. It's preposterous. Was your dad a fucking economics expert? Is your dad somebody who, like, we should give a fuck about? Like, I don't understand why, like, you're using him as a moral authority or using him as a fucking viable authority to tell me what the fuck to do. I don't know your dad, and as far as I'm concerned, he was a fucking communist who lived in goddamn Canada. All right? I don't care. He had 9 kids that he couldn't fucking support fully. By your own admission. Like, I don't give a fuck about your goddamn nonsense. Like, why would I fucking care? Legitimately. And this is from a dude with 6 kids. Why would I fucking care about what your dad thinks about our opinions about motherfucking pensions and Social Security? Like, man, I don't fucking get it.
Probably, if I was asked him way back when he was still alive, he probably would say, well, such people don't really exist. But they do. Now, this is a particular case. There's one of these MGTOW YouTubers called Turflingy Monkey, and I'll just call him Shit Chimp for short, just make it easy. Shit Chimp had put up a video recently talking about, the the taxes, there's going to be this fallout, and something will have to give, and so the seniors should be the ones to suffer. They should be tossed out in the street. And of course, this guy shit champ, he, for all his talk, he went to the military when he was a young guy. I hope you're listening to this shit champ. You went to the military, sir, because you had nothing to offer your society. You were a lost young man, and you did not pull yourself up by your bootstraps and become an entrepreneur. You didn't have the talent or the know-how or the willpower or the work ethic. So what you did, you went to the military, who took care of you.
Wow, so soldiers are now worthless and useless people who don't deserve to survive. Is that where we are right now? Soldiers are all stupid motherfuckers who aren't entrepreneurs and can't do shit with themselves. Is that where we're going with at the moment? Is that really where you want to take this, nigga? Because I don't think you want to go to this way. Like, legitimately, like, real shit. You want to talk shit about fucking American veterans? Like, yo, legitimately, this is why the fuck, like, I say fucking Canadians are goddamn fucking communist. Like, yo, case in motherfucking point right the fuck here. Real shit.
The military is a welfare system for out-of-work men. Okay? And of course, because you did, the U.S. military is the largest in the world. It's bloated, actually. I've heard it's bigger than multiple European countries' military budgets combined. You could cut that in half, and you would still have a superpower militarily. And you would free up tax dollars for your senior citizens.
Okay, so finally we get into some meat and potatoes of how things actually work and how much money is actually spent on things, all right? I have graphs, I got charts, I got numbers. It's important to understand that we have charts and numbers, okay? And the military is not a welfare system for out-of-work men. You go and you serve your country and you fight in the war. We've been at war for fucking 19 goddamn years. There is reasons we are at fucking war. We are defending the petrodollar status, which, by the way, keeps Canada afloat. All right. And the only reason your fucking country exists at all is because of the fact that we're here allowing you to do so. We defend the entire world's fucking trade routes. That's why our military is as big as what the fuck it is. All right. And that's the reason why we have to go over to the Middle East and fight these fucking wars, which is, I was going to do a video on this later. It's because of the fact that we had to fucking defend the petrodollar status that we started in 1970 because we had to get off of the motherfucking, the Bretton Woods motherfucking agreement, which said we had to have our dollars backed in gold. But after Britain pulled all their fucking, tried to recall their dollars and pull the gold out of the United States, Richard Nixon said, oh, well, yeah, we can't be having that, right? He stood there and had he had the Saudi Arabians and OPEC nations end up standing here and only allowing trade in oil in fucking dollars, all right? And basically it said as long as they did this, the Saudi Arabians could use our military as they see fit, and we would make them the strongest power in the region, which is where we're going through right now. And we're kind of running out of time because in like 2 years, we're going to have 100, or in 5 years, we're going to have 100% of our United States budget spent on just Social Security and pensions. Defense is the largest item we spend on discretionary spending. That means what Congress actually, approves of. But we have what's known as mandatory spending, which will be Social Security, Medicare, healthcare, things of this nature. All right. And they have to be paid for no matter what happens. Congress doesn't have to approve them. It automatically comes off the top. Here, I will show you a motherfucking chart.
Or something else, anyway. But you do not want to do that because that would suggest that something is wrong with you. You are the weakling you like to talk about. Now, you were raised by your grandmother. I don't know if she's still alive, but would you like to entrust her well-being to the daughter, her daughter, your mother who abandoned you? You think the mother who abandoned you would look after her little old lady, grandmother, or mother, I should say? I don't think so. You don't really want to look.
Well, this is the reason why his mother was able to act in the manner in which she was, is because everybody has a social safety net. All right? If that net wasn't there, she wouldn't act like a fucking moron. And guess what? You'd end up having to take care of your kids forever, or you'd end up having to take care of your parents forever. And that's actually not a bad thing when it really comes down to it. Having a close-knit, tight family means that you have a close-knit, tight community, and you have a close-knit, tight state, and you have a better nation on the long run. That's the reality of it. The thing is that you're a lazy fuck, all right? And I understand everybody wants to be independent, but if you want to be independent, then you have to save for yourself to be independent. But continuing to have the government give you free gibs so that you can run around and act like a fucking lunatic is not a positive ideology. All right? And by the way, TFM literally is an economics fucking guy. He literally handles other people's money for a living. All right? You are a fucking asshole. I want you to know that right now. You are the biggest piece of shit on the fucking internet. And as far as I'm concerned, the vast majority of people I run around with here are veterans on fucking YouTube. Like, yo, legitimately. And the majority of them would throw you a beating and a quarter for saying the words that are coming out of your fucking mouth. You mealy-mouthed piece of shit, good for nothing motherfucker, you. You fucking cornball fucking piece of shit. You fucking elitist cocksucking motherfucker. Thinking you goddamn knowing something. I'm gonna tell you what, legitimately, yo, you better be goddamn grateful. You know what I'm saying? Goddamn grateful you live in a country like Canada. Because if you talk this good shit in fucking America, you get your fucking head caved in everywhere you fucking went.
After, you don't want her in your house. You want her to be looked after the government like the rest of us do. You know, that's how it's done. It's easier that way. It works out. That's why people do it. People don't want to look after their elderly parents like they did in the past. And that's why we have senior citizen pensions. I mean, look at yourself. I mean, you went from the military and now you've got a YouTube channel. And you make videos while you're giving your opinion while playing video games on Twitch. No, apparently, I mean, the guys are willing to pay you money for it. All right, that's cool. But you're not providing anything to your society. You know, you're not a part of the manufacturing department of anything. You know, you're not digging ore out of the ground. You know, and given how crappy your content is, you're not even providing a decent opinion on anything.
Again, a dude standing here with a fucking 600 sub YouTube channel fucking lecturing an individual who has 500,000 fucking subs who's rescued a many a men, alright, from fucking trying to commit suicide, who stood here and helps everybody around him in his fucking community. You're gonna stand here and tell him he's not doing nothing. And on top of that, in real life, the motherfucker helps individuals become financially fucking independent. Yo, fuck you. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. Fuck you in your royal country piece of shit Canadian ass. Fuck you, motherfucker.
You know. He also talked about something like the laugher factor. Talking about, you know, how there's some line that you can only tax so far, then you're losing taxes. The states have not. It's nowhere near that.
All right, he's talking about the Laffer curve. All right, which is the basic premise is this: if you have a horse and you stack too much weight behind it, all right. You stack the right amount of weight behind it, the horse will be able to walk and do what it has to do, and, you know what I mean, be able to fucking move the way it needs to move and go on the hill. And the more weight you stack onto that motherfucking horse, you know what I mean, to get to the point where you'll have diminishing returns, all right? You'll end up having, like, the horse won't be able to pull it anymore. Same thing with taxes, all right? If you tax an individual too fucking much, you tax your country too much, you'll end up standing here taking away too much money from the fucking people, and they won't want to work anymore. You're killing the horse. worse. It's kind of the situation. You know what I mean? So I went and did some research, and I checked us out versus everybody else. We actually tax more in the United States than everywhere else in the world, for the most part, when it really comes down to it. Because not only do you have to worry about things like federal taxes, you also have to worry about your states and your local taxes as well. All right, because like these are real things, you know what I mean, that people end up having to pay, and they can vary from place to place, but you have to kind of look at them as an overall thing. The United States taxes at about 38% of gross domestic product, because that's how you take it. It's very simple. All right, it's the amount of you take the amount of money paid in taxes, you take the amount of money standing here, put in or earned in the gross domestic product. You know what I mean? You just really simple, you know, you stand here, divide it, and it comes up with a percentage. All right. In the United States, its percentage is right around 38%. And Switzerland, you know what I mean? For instance, I did the math on that one there. They're at about 26%. The average OECD country in Europe, you know what I mean? The average European country is at about 35%. So when it comes down to it, all right, legitimately, this is how this operates. You cannot take more than 34 to 35% of your gross domestic product, which is about what everybody does, really, because you tax it about 34, 35%, you end up at about 19. All right, when it comes to the feds, as far as, you know, the federal government is concerned, they've never been, even when they had 100% or 95% federal taxes back in the 1950s or whatever the case might have been, they still only got 19% of gross domestic product that actually went to the federal government, because we have state and local governments as well. Our shit's set up a little bit different than everybody else's, because this was made to be 50 different countries inside of one nation. And so each of them taxes and pays for different things. Like, for instance, in Canada and Europe, you end up having education get paid for by the federal government, by their actual country's government. Here we have it paid for by your local government. You know what I mean? That way, locally, you're able to fund your education the way you need it to be funded. You know what I'm saying? It's not one of those things where you go, oh man, this is how much a populace is, this is how much money you get. Nah, it's like, well, you know, we have the ability here to, you know, if you want to spend extra money on a football field, or if we need, and different type of classes, it's not so much one size fits all. And that's an important thing. And as we move more towards a centralized government with Department of Education, you know, that's why our education system's falling into the dirt right now. Like, for instance, in Baltimore, they couldn't find one child who was up to fucking reading standards or science or math at grade level. There's not one kid in the entire Baltimore school district. That's an issue, and that's something that needs to be dealt with. So, and I wanted to stand here and use this opportunity to educate y'all individuals about what's going on, what the Laffer curve is, and how all this shit actually works.
Neither it is in Canada, because Sweden's way above us, and they're doing fine. So they haven't reached the Laffer effect. We have not reached the Laffer effect. Okay? Or whatever it's particular called, Laffer curve, or whatever you want to call it. This is all just nonsense to push this disgusting narrative of throwing the elderly into the street, so a loser like you can hoard some tax dollars to do what? You know, you can't just go around and say, well, it's just my money. This is my money. First of all, it is not your money. The taxes are the government's money. It belongs to them. That's why I might...
All right, let's correct these fucking statements that came out of this moron's mouth real quick. All right, first off, it is not the government's money. It doesn't belong to them. It's your money, okay? You can tell you don't have any fucking kids. You know how you can tell that you don't have any kids, you worthless motherfucker? Do you know how you can tell that? Legit? It's because of the fact that, like, you would stand here and think that, like, you wouldn't, number one, you wouldn't want to put them in debt to pay for you. All right. Are you okay with, writing checks against your kids' asses to stand here, and pay for stuff that you need right now? No. You don't want to indebt your children or your grandchildren in the future. And that's where your dad would have probably punched you in the mouth for your nonsense that you're talking right now. Okay. And that's the issue. Number one. Number two. All right. It's not the government's money, it's your money. You earn that money. You went and worked. You went and gave your labor. You went and stood here and earned a living. You went and decided that you were going to have a contract where you traded, your time and ability for, for financial ability, for money, right? And when you did so, the government decided that they want to stick their fucking hand into your pocket and take part of your money at gunpoint. If you don't see where that's a wrong thing, there's something desperately wrong with you. All right. Number 3. As far as old people being thrown onto the street, is what it is, homie. All right. Should have never set this system up in the first place where you have to indebt your grandkids to pay for you. All right. I understand like the social construct, the social contract. Like I get that mentality. I do. And I'm perfectly fine with taking care of the mentally challenged, the crazy, put them in, I think we should go back to having insane asylums where you can keep these individuals, so they're not on the street wandering around trying, figure stuff out and doing drugs. Like I know a lot of these people who are legitimately on the street. I feel for them. Like I do, because they have nowhere to go and they don't have anybody to take care of them. And we don't take care of them. We also don't take care of our veterans who are sleeping on the street either. These are all issues that should be dealt with. But as far as old people are concerned, you had a whole lifetime worth of working, legitimately. And you have a house. You know what you could do? You could have your kids move into that house or stay there. All right. And when you die, they get the house, which is what has happened for the history of mankind. Let's just finish this nonsense up.
Say my taxes, but I'm really saying the government's taxes. I owe them that, and that's why they get it. That's why the IRS exists. It's a debt collector system for bums like you who don't want to pay. You enjoy a first world country, but you don't want to pay for it. You want to get out of it. You're a deadbeat. Now, you even mentioned how you have boomers watching your channel.
I mean, the reason why we have a first world country is because men like Andrew Carnegie and Henry Ford and Mellon and Chase and Franklin and all these individuals stood here, and Edison, right? And put their time and money and, wisdom in, and stood here and risked everything to build it. We don't live in a first world country because the government is first world. We live in a first world country because the people in it stood here and risked everything and fucking created shit that made us into a first world country. It's the oil, it's the motors, it's the light bulbs, it's the electricity, it's the technology that isn't created by the government. It's created by the people. And when the people say, we don't want to have to stand here and give you all this fucking money to pay for these worthless motherfuckers who ain't producing shit. When you have a third of the population standing here pulling the cart for the rest of the population, that's a bit of an issue. All right? When there's 47 million people who live on welfare and another 50 million who work for the government itself, that's a bit of an issue. When there's $7 trillion in public pensions for school teachers and firefighters and policemen, mostly all just school teachers though, right? That are completely unfunded. And they're going to stand here and rob us and raise our property taxes on houses that we paid for 20 or 30 fucking years ago and throw your grandmother in the street because she can't afford to keep paying the property taxes on her house. That's a fucking problem. See, you, sir, are a worthless piece of shit who enjoys his chains. Whereas me, I enjoy the freedom to be able to go make my money and handle my business and strike out on my own. You're a worthless garbage human being. I want you to know this. And I think I'm going to end this right here because it's getting kind of fucking long. Fuck this guy. And fuck motherfucking everything he fucking believes in. And fuck Canada.